classroom was buzzing with noise. Students laughed, compared sneakers, and threw paperballs across the room. At the back, Ethan Carter, a skinny 15-year-old boy, quietly opened his old backpack. He pulled out a weathered notebook and placed it carefully on the desk. His shoes were ripped at the front, taped together with duct tape. The door banged open. Mr. Wilson, tall and arrogant, strode in. Silence fell immediately. "Homework check," he barked, clapping his hands. He moved between desks, collecting notebooks. When he reached Ethan, he stopped. "What is this?" Wilson held up Ethan's notebook with 2 fingers as if it were filthy. "Does this belong in a school or a garbage can?" The class burst into laughter. Ethan lowered his head. "Stand up, Carter!" Wilson's voice grew louder. Uniform wrinkled, shoes torn, notebook disgusting. "Do your parents not care about you? Or do they spend all their money begging on the street?" More laughter. One boy shouted from the side, "Maybe he found that notebook in the trash." Wilson smirked. "Probably true. Students like you are a disgrace to this institution." Ethan's hands trembled. "Sir, I did the homework. Silence." Wilson cut him off. "You'll never achieve anything in life. Don't come back tomorrow unless you have proper shoes, a proper notebook, and some respect for this school." The bell rang. Students rushed out, some glancing back at Ethan with mocking smiles. He packed his bag slowly, whispering under his breath, "Maybe I don't belong here." Ethan walked down the hall, eyes wet. He bumped into Principal Johnson, a man in his 50s with kind eyes. "Ethan," Johnson looked at him closely. "Why are you upset?" "Nothing, sir, I'm fine," Ethan muttered, wiping his face. But Johnson noticed the torn shoes and cracked bag. He rested a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Don't let anyone convince you that you don't belong here. You're stronger than you know." Ethan nodded silently, confused but comforted. Later that day, Wilson sipped coffee with 2 colleagues. "You should have seen Carter today," Wilson laughed. "That boy looked like he crawled out of a dumpster. This school wastes its time on kids like him." One teacher frowned. "But Ethan's one of the brightest students here, straight A's." Wilson waved dismissively. "Grades don't matter if you look like a beggar. In this world, appearance is everything." The others exchanged uneasy glances. That evening, Ethan entered his small apartment. His mother, Mrs. Carter, sat by the window, sewing clothes under a dim lamp. She looked up and smiled. "You're home, Ethan. How was school?" Ethan didn't answer. He dropped his bag, then suddenly hugged her tightly, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, maybe I shouldn't go back. They laughed at me. Mr. Wilson said I don't belong." Mrs. Carter's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. She lifted his chin. "They can laugh at your clothes, Ethan. They can mock your shoes, but they cannot laugh at your knowledge. That is yours, and one day the same people who mock you will stand in silence when they see who you truly are." Ethan stared at her, hope flickering back into his eyes. The next morning, the entire school gathered in the gym for the annual award ceremony. Wilson stood near the stage, smug, expecting one of his favorite wealthy students to win. Principal Johnson stepped to the microphone. "Today we honor the Scholar of the Year," he announced. "This award goes to the student who has shown not only academic excellence, but also resilience, discipline, and character." Students whispered. Wilson folded his arms confidently. Johnson's eyes scanned the crowd. "This year's Scholar of the Year is Ethan Carter." Gasps filled the gym. Students turned in disbelief. Ethan froze, unable to move. Wilson's jaw dropped. "Come forward, Ethan," Johnson said warmly. Ethan walked slowly toward the stage, every eye on him. His torn shoes squeaked against the polished floor. Wilson looked on, stunned, and for the first time, Ethan stood tall. Ethan reached the stage, hands shaking. The gym was silent, every student staring. Principal Johnson placed the medal around his neck and handed him the certificate. "Say a few words, Ethan," Johnson said softly. Ethan looked at the microphone. His lips trembled, but then he remembered his mother's words. "One day they will stand in silence when they see who you truly are." He took a deep breath. "I know most of you don't think I belong here," Ethan began, his voice quiet but steady. "I've heard the laughter. I've seen the looks. Yes, my shoes are torn. My notebooks are old. But every night, while some of you sleep peacefully, I watch my mom stay awake sewing clothes just so I can sit in this classroom." The gym was silent. Students shifted uncomfortably. "My mom tells me knowledge is something nobody can take away. That's why, no matter how hard it gets, I never stop studying. I didn't win this award because I'm rich. I won because I refused to give up." His eyes scanned the crowd, landing on Wilson. One day the world will not ask what shoes I wore, it will ask what difference I made, and I will be ready to answer. Applause broke out slowly, then louder. Students who mocked him the day before were now clapping. Principal Johnson stepped forward. His tone grew firm. "I want everyone here to know something about Ethan Carter," he said. "This boy has maintained the highest grades in the entire school for 3 years. He walks miles every day because his family cannot afford transportation, and still, he never missed a single class." Gasps echoed. Johnson's voice hardened. "And yet yesterday he was humiliated in front of all of you by someone who should have guided him. Mr. Wilson, a teacher's job is to lift students, not break them. You failed." All eyes turned toward Wilson. His face flushed red. Wilson stammered, "Sir, I was only trying to enforce discipline." Johnson cut him off. "Discipline is not cruelty. A true teacher sees potential, not poverty. Today you taught this school what arrogance looks like. Ethan has taught us what strength looks like." The gym roared with applause. Wilson lowered his head, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Students surrounded Ethan. Some of the same boys who mocked him now patted his back. "Ethan, man, that speech was incredible. You're the real deal, bro. Respect." Ethan smiled shyly. For the first time, he felt seen. From a distance, Wilson watched, humiliated. He picked up his papers and slipped out of the gym without a word. That evening, Ethan walked into his apartment, still wearing the medal. His mother looked up from her sewing machine. "Ethan?" she gasped, covering her mouth. You won." Ethan smiled, holding the medal out. "We won, Mom." She hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Samra lingered on Ethan's medal lying on the sewing table beside his mother's worn hands. Sometimes respect is not given, it is earned, and that day Ethan Carter earned it all.